As a conspiratorial aside, I want to offer this hot take.
Okay.
Someone in the organization leaked the Sorokin is battling something news to Elliot Friedman. Otherwise, how panicked would the fan base be if training camp started and Sorokin just wasn't out there? Imagine Lou and Roy having to address him having off-season back surgery at that point. What does Lou always say? If you have time, take it. Perhaps a corollary to that is whenever you can buy time, do it however you can. Is it fair to say that the news of Sorokin's status leaking ahead of training camp served to buy the organization some time to manage expectations regarding his recovery?
If they wanted to give themselves more time, why not just say something when it originally happened? That's my only pushback to Michael's theory here, right? Like, 'cause it was leaked that, what was it? 2 weeks maybe before training camp started that we found out the rumblings from Elliot Friedman. If I'm just throwing a date out here for, semantics reason. If the first week of July, Ilya Sorokin had surgery, why not either A, announce it then, or B, give it to Friedman to leak at that point? So then you have even more time to be like, figure out his ramp up period. I understand where Michael's coming from. Like if Sorokin just didn't show up and then the first day was like, oh yeah, he had back surgery. Like that's not a great way to handle it. But like on the flip side of that, why not just say something at the beginning when the surgery happens?
Yeah, I'm not too big on the hot take either. I get your rationale, Michael, for sure. The rationale is sound. The way that the news came out, not particularly from Elliot Friedman, but when Patrick Roy divulged what it was just kind of like off the cuff, just something he threw out there. If they're really trying to buy themselves time and manage the expectations, I think there would have been more care in how they delivered what actually the reason for why he's not there. It would be like Lou Lamoriello would be sitting down. He had off-season back surgery. It wasn't much. He's going to be back. Instead of like, he's fine. He'll be back. I'm not too worried about them. And then like the next day, Patrick was like, hey, his back surgery, whatever. See you. Bye.
Yeah.
Like some random golf event. It just seemed kind of careless.
It did. It did feel very careless.
And maybe Patty wasn't supposed to say that.
No, I think some of it too was language barrier with like how Patrick answers some of the questions. Like sometimes I feel like it's very clearly like English isn't his first language. And like I don't know if I'm even like explaining this correctly, but like how he says things isn't always
okay.
What it
like
means.
A sentence structure in French is sometimes different than it is in English.
Yeah, right. Like, because there was a quote, and I wish I remember what the exact quote was from that day where it was like, that felt like a quote that was like a lost in translation.
Right. Like he's just translating the words directly. But like when you do that from French to English, it doesn't really translate 100%. I know when I was learning Russian, it just doesn't, you can't translate word for word from Russian into English because the sentence structure isn't the same. So it'd be like, I love you is like, ya tsilubiu. It'd be like, yeah, you love, or sorry, you love. Be like, that doesn't make any friggin' sense at all. But that's how you say it in Russian. So like there is that kind of difference when it comes to French. Not too much. Like French is pretty close to English in so much as not just the words, but the structure of our sentences. But some of the things change. Like, I don't know, words for words, like an adjective or a noun. I can't really just describe what is what, but for us, you would say in French, instead of saying the blue couch, you would say the couch blue, le divan bleu.
Right. Like so out of order almost.
Right. So you got to flip it around. So that's kind of what's happening when it comes to translating in your head and just spitting it out. Maybe something came out of order from his mouth. It's possible.
Yeah, I was trying to find the exact quote, but I'm having a hard time finding.
Also, when you're
quote.
Doing that translation, like you're also trying to vamp as your mind is searching for these things. So things just kind of come out, which is probably what happened here with the back surgery thing. He's trying to think of a way to describe it as Lou said it, and then he's translating in his mind. and then he's got to go like, oh yeah, it's a, you know, and I'm thinking of back surgery, and then it comes out. Right, you're thinking of the thing not to say, but it comes out because you're thinking about it.
Yeah, this might have. I think I may have found it.
Okay.
Quote, so the surgery he had for his back, it's not the perfect thing, but I do think he'll be fine. I do believe we have such a good medical staff. They'll take care of him. They'll make sure when he's ready, he'll help us.
Yeah. That is some clumsy French to English.
Right? Like that's what it just like how it was structured just felt a little off, which sometimes that's how he speaks. And like again, that's nothing against him. It's not his first language, but it's a little clunky. Like you said, that was a good way to describe it.
Yeah, because he's trying to say like it's not ideal that he got surgery, right? It's not the perfect thing.
Yeah, right. That's how I interpreted it as well. And the final line too, maybe like when he's ready, he'll help us. Like I think some fans interpreted that like, oh, he's not ready right now.
Right.
And like that might be a bigger issue than Lou was leading on. And I'm not exactly sure that's how Patrick meant it. And I don't want to put words in his mouth necessarily, but my interpretation of what he was trying to say wasn't how some Isles fans reacted to it, basically.
Because like in French, you'd say like "quand il est prêt, il va nous aider," and like which is word for word what he said, but like you say that in French, saying like when he's ready, because like he's obviously not ready right now. So like that's how you would say it in French. And then the first opening bit, what is it? It's not c'est pas idéal. So many times you say that in French, like c'est pas idéal. It's not ideal. But you don't really say that in English to start things off, to start off a sentence. It's not ideal, this surgery. Obviously not. It's surgery. They're never ideal. But he's like translating from French to English in his head, and then it's spitting out, and it's not really in the right order type of thing.
That blows my mind, by the way. Like, I don't know how, like, do you think like that when you do this podcast?
No, I've done it so long that I don't have to, but I do it when I'm talking to my kids, because I will speak to my kids in French, but I'm thinking sometimes in English. So okay, well, how do I say that in French? And so that's when it gets kind of clunky.
Okay, so do you think in English?
Both.
Like that breaks my brain. Like that's just wild.
It depends on the context.
Okay.
It really does.
That's really cool.
If you like that, make sure to subscribe to Up the Turnpike on Patreon for more exclusive New York Islanders content.